going to be watching this, so let's get started. Also, I'm going to be talking about this.
Hello and welcome to the official Xbox podcast. I'm your host, Tina Amini, and we have a very special episode today, as you can probably tell by the fact that I'm joined by Phil, Sarah, and Matt. Welcome. And we're going to talk about some updates at Xbox. We want to talk about game exclusivity. We want to talk about Activision Blizzard, now that they're part of our portfolio, how that might be an impact on Game Pass. And we want to talk about hardware, too, and how all of this fits into the strategy at Xbox. So where should we start, Phil?
Well, when we originally had planned for the show, starting back in December, I think we probably would have started with Activision Blizzard, maybe talked a little bit about the exclusivity with some of the news coming up, and then hardware. But we've had some unforeseen news that has come out.
The leaks, right? The leaks that some of Xbox games would be coming to PlayStation. So that's they
let's
had to
go and tackle the exclusivity question, because I know it's on the minds of a lot of people. We hear from the community, and that's an important input for us. So we made the decision that we're going to take 4 games to the other consoles.
Oh, so 4 games. Let's see which games he's talking about.
Just 4 games. Not a change to our kind of fundamental exclusive strategy. We're making these decisions for some specific reasons. We make every decision really with the long-term health of Xbox in mind. And long-term health of Xbox means a growing platform, our games performing, building the best platform for creators.
So yeah, what we were expecting, right? They want to grow the Xbox brand, so this is the reason why they're going to put some of their games on PlayStation.
Reaching as many players as we can.
Which makes sense, because PlayStation and Nintendo, it's like 250 million other players that they can get to purchase some of their games. Yeah, so that makes sense.
We're always looking to learn as a leadership team and to grow. And we think this is an interesting point in time for us to use what some of the other platforms have right now to help grow our franchises. So we're going to do that.
So these 4 titles, what are they? Can you say?
I'm not going to name those games. The teams that are building those games have announced plans that are not too far away.
So they say they're building these games, so that means the ports, or it means that the games are not yet to announced. So this is an interesting question that remains to be seen, but let's see.
As we know, game teams put a lot of energy into their announcements.
So he's not going to say which games they are, because they want to do the whole marketing thing. So he don't want to say the games right away. So yeah,
with the partners. So
let's see.
I don't want to take anything away from those teams.
Yeah.
So I won't be talking about the titles specifically, but I think when they come out, it'll make sense.
Can we say if either of those titles are Starfield or Indiana Jones?
They are not Starfield or Indiana Jones.
Well, what was the criteria?
Right, so Starfield's not coming to PlayStation 5. Yeah, but let's see. That might change in the
thinking
future,
about
right?
selecting those 4 titles.
Let me start a little.
Else. That can change in the future if they change their plans on something like that.
A little bit outside of that, and then I'll get to the 4 specific games that we're talking about right now. Because the fundamental decision driver for any decision that we make, anything we're going to talk about today, is the long-term health of Xbox. That we're running a growing platform that is reaching more players, that our games are having as much success as possible.
Right?
And I do have a fundamental belief that over the next 5 or 10 years, exclusive games that are exclusive to one piece of hardware, are going to be a smaller and smaller part of the game industry. And that's not some great insight, because if you look at the last 10 years and what the biggest games are today, it's a natural place. Whether
Did they apply some effect on this video? It seems to have some effect. This greenish color, yeah, but
it's one console and PC, multiple consoles, mobile console and PC. You see big games landing on multiple platforms, and we want to be
I think PlayStation is going to do the same, right? PlayStation is going to start talking about putting the games on PC. And then I'm going to talk that in another video. That's for another video, right? But yeah, Xbox has been doing this for years now, putting the games both on Xbox and PC on day one, which I think for them makes sense, right? And for PlayStation as well, but especially for Xbox, because they are under Microsoft. And I think that's a great move because if it were bad, they would stop, right? And they want to try to even put some of their games on PlayStation, which means that it's multi-platform thing works, and that's why we see big publishers putting all their games on all platforms that they can put their games on. So yeah, I think that consoles are a niche nowadays. It's something that is a very niche
form for creators that are trying to realize that potential. But now back to the specifics of the question on these four specific titles. We looked at games that are over a year old, so they've been on.
Okay. This is a great insight. Okay, let's break it down. So it's a games they are over a year old. So that would be Hi-Fi Rush, right? And Sea of Thieves.
We looked at
especially Hi-Fi Rush because I think that has exactly 1 year that has been released. So
games that are over a year old, so they've been on Xbox and PC for a while. A couple of the games are community-driven games, new games
so
that kind of first
Thieves,
iterations of a franchise that have reached their full potential, let's say, on Xbox and PC. Well, there's always growth. Franchises that we obviously want to continue to invest in. Part of having the ability to continue to invest is that the businesses behind those franchises continue. We think it's important that these service-based games that have community.
Service is a service game, so Sea of Thieves, yeah. So it's pretty much a given that it's Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves that he's talking about here.
Communities behind them that they can have confidence that they're going to exist in the future. So two of them, kind of community-driven games that will end up on other platforms and give us the ability to continue to invest in them. We think that's great for the business and great for the communities, more players to play with. I'd say two of the other games are smaller games that were never really meant.
So those two games I think are Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves. So there's two other games that he says is smaller, as you can see here.
Invest in them. We think that's great for the business and great for the communities, more players to play with.
Let's see.
I'd say two of the other
games are smaller games, so smaller games. I think we do have confirmation by now which those games are, but I'm gonna take a look at that later.
Games are smaller games that were never really meant to be built as kind of platform exclusives and all the fanfare that goes around that. But games that our teams really wanted to go build, that we love supporting creative endeavors across our studios, regardless of size. And as they've realized their full potential on Xbox and PC, we see an opportunity to utilize the other platforms as a place to just drive more business value out of those games, allowing us to invest in maybe future iterations of those, so sequels to those, or just other games like that in our portfolio.
Yeah. Because if they making a port of a game, it costs just a few millions. So if they sell millions of copies, the return on investment is going to be huge, and they can use that money to make new titles. That's the strategy that we see PlayStation doing on PC, right? And even fanboys can, I think, agree with that. That makes sense. But again, I think putting games on other platforms, especially if the other platforms are bigger than yours, makes a lot of sense.
And when we don't damage Xbox and we can grow our business using what other platforms have and to help us with that, we're going to do that. And that's really the story behind these four games. And last thing I'll say, looking forward, I think there is an interesting story for us of introducing Xbox franchises to players on other platforms to get them more interested in Xbox.
Okay, so he's saying about kind of bait and switch, right? Where he would put those games on PlayStation and they might come to Xbox. But I don't think that's going to happen, right? I don't think PlayStation players would go to Xbox because they have the option to play on PC, those Xbox games, and there's other features that they could also have access to. So yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. But it's funny to see Phil saying this because he he has been saying for years that the more people have choice, the more choice people have to play games, the better. Which I think that's great, right? But I'm a PC gamer, so I think having the option to play all the games on one machine is absolutely phenomenal because you don't have to spend a huge amount of money to on multiple devices. Oh, I forgot to pause the video.
We think there's a good brand value for Xbox there. So 4 games, no promise beyond that. So if you're on those other platforms and you see these 4 games coming, please don't take it as some signal that everything's coming. It's not. And we're going to learn.
PlayStation.
So when you are thinking about the
PlayStation
future,
players should not be expecting to see older games older than this, right? After they put those 4 games out, I think they're going to put some of the games in the future, especially with some of the agreements.
this concept of live service games, games that can benefit from bigger audiences, new audiences, how does that apply to future titles and how you're applying that criteria there?
Yeah, there's really no fundamental change to how we think about exclusivity. We just came out of Developer Direct, which was an awesome show, where we showed great games that are coming to Xbox and PC and cloud, which really makes them accessible to hundreds of millions of people. So it's this kind of, we're really focused on a couple platforms and what's going to show up there. But our key of play the games you want with the people you want, anywhere you want, when everybody plays, we all win. These have been part of our strategy for years.
Yeah, and to think that cross-play was the thing that introduced this idea that playing with people on different platforms is great because it takes away that kind of niche thing of each platform having its own game because a game can be successful on multiple platforms. And I think Xbox is going to continue to do that, right? Because they now own Call of Duty, which has huge cross-play player bases. Yeah, I think that they're going to continue doing that. I don't see they stopping doing that, especially with the ABK studios. But for the PlayStation... But for the Xbox studios, the older studios, I think they are probably not gonna do this generation. But in the future, I think Halo might become a multi-platform title, right? Because if they get some of those Call of Duty, just one of those Call of Duty studios to work on Halo and give a new look on Halo, give a reimagined Halo with some of the Call of Duty mechanics, I think it's good. That game would be a multiplat, or maybe not. Yeah, but I don't see Xbox trying to focus on the Xbox console itself, just the console and motor, because I think PC is a big part of their business as of now.
And will continue to be. Our focus is on how do we continue to grow the games industry by reaching more players in more places, and how do we grow Xbox as part of that?
I think Xbox is a hardware platform. Because Xbox here is not Xbox the console; it's the Xbox the platform, right? So yeah, I think Xbox, yeah, because Xbox, some people here say Xbox as a hard platform.
Xbox is a publisher of great games.
Xbox is a publisher. I think that's the way we should take this, as Xbox as a publisher of games should be reaching new players.
Games, and Xbox as a platform for the world's best creators.
Mm-hmm. And then knowing that, how do we think about our first-party games and Game Pass?
Yeah, well, to build on what Phil just said, one thing I would add, as you were talking about growth, is just that we've sort of seen this inversion over the last 5 years where it used to be that the platform was the biggest thing.
That's right.
And the games would sort of tuck in within the platform. Today, big games like a Roblox or a Fortnite could actually be bigger than any one platform.
Yeah.
And that really has changed the way that we think about things. So in the midst of all that, I think we at First Party can come back to sort of some core principles. First, that all of our games will be on the Xbox platform. Second, all of our games will go into Game Pass on day one. And third, we know that Game Pass will only be available on Xbox. So there's sort of starting points for us. As Phil mentioned, there are games today that you can play that only can be found on Xbox. And at the same time, we want to bring more of our games to more players. So we're going to continue to look at that. Kind of moving aside, though, from some of those and thinking more about what does it really mean for the player, to me, the two key things are cross-play and cross-save.
Yeah, cross-play. That was us talking about. I think cross-play was the thing introduced, like, it kind of unified the player bases for most of these games, especially Fortnite, right? That's the whole PlayStation holding back on allowing cross-play between different consoles, and the backlash that the community gave them was the thing that drove them to allow it. But again, especially with these multiplayer games that are huge, being available on multiple platforms, it's definitely the way to go. We've seen this with the Howard David, which we're gonna talk later.
Dave. Those things allow us to deliver on the promise of Xbox, which is play with your friends where they are, play on the devices you want, play the games you want. So that is really only possible at a practical level when you know that your saves and your player are going to be able to move across all those parts. So not all of our games today are necessarily built to take advantage of that. There still will be some games that don't. As we bring more teams into the Xbox family, there's some catch up to do as we get there. But that cross-play, cross-save is like so fundamental to what we're doing, and I think is something that we as first party get such a good benefit from being so close to the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things, like you said, all of our games are always in Game Pass. And so I'm excited to announce, with the coming together that we had with Activision Blizzard King, that Activision and Blizzard games are coming to Game Pass, starting with Diablo 4.
So, yeah, they're going to start putting the Activision Blizzard games on Game Pass. I was hoping that they would put the old Call of Duty titles. That would be, I think, the reason that many people would subscribe to Game Pass, because those games, if you were to buy them, would cost thousands of dollars, and they are released yearly. So if they were all available on Game Pass, it would be huge, especially if they solve some of the issues with the servers on those games. But again, Call of Duty alone would be able to get many new subscribers to Game Pass. Let's see how they go. And some people were saying that Game Pass would change their business model, where they would remove the day one games from the first party studios, trying to sell more games, right? Because there's this whole discussion that Xbox is not profitable, and they might try to change their business model, but I think that would have a huge backlash, because people were always under the assumption that Xbox first-party studios games would be on the Game Pass day one, and this is what they are saying now, that they are going to continue to do that, and I think that's good, because it gives people with the idea that if they continue being subscribed to Game Pass, they are going to still benefit from this. Which, think about it. If Game Pass costs $200 a year, three big games, which would be $70 each, which equates to that. And even so, you still have access to all of those games. So the value of Xbox Game Pass is absolutely there. There's still a huge value to it. And that's great that they're going to continue doing that.
March 28th, which I'm super, super excited to share today. And it's all...
And imagine how many people would subscribe to Game Pass just to have access to some of those services, especially from the Blizzard games, like WoW, that they require some kind of subscription. And if Game Pass would be cheaper, that would be a huge deal.
All part of our commitment to make the Xbox experience and the games that we build as widely available as possible. So now the 34 million games.
Oh, that's confirmation now. Now there's confirmation of how many subscribers Game Pass has. So it's 34 million. Okay, that's not 25. Like, we've here for years, I was 25, I think, since 2022. And now we got confirmation that it's actually 34 million. I would like to hear how is the distribution between Xbox and PC. I get the impression that PC would be like 50%, but I might be wrong on that. But I don't think that the disparity is that big between Xbox and PC. But let's see. We might get some
Pass members
information in the
can all
future.
enjoy the fantastic experience of Diablo 4.
Amazing. Can we come back to the point, Phil, you mentioned at the top, this isn't really a change in strategy for us. Can you recap for me how it isn't?
Yeah, and I thought both Matt and Sarah did a really nice job of talking about what we're doing on Xbox, where we're going. You know, if you take a platform feature like Xbox Play Anywhere, which has been a promise that we've made on our first-party games, that you can buy our game once, you're going to play across Xbox and Windows. I think we're the only platform that does this. That makes it possible for you not only to play with your friends wherever they are, but to know that you actually have multiple entitlements to the games. I think that's a technology I'd love to see applied to more platforms. But it is this view that people are going to play Xbox in multiple places. Whether it's play the games you want with the people you want, anywhere you want, whether it's content, community, and cloud, whether it's when everybody plays, we all win. Like, we've had different taglines, different strategy, kind of words that we've used, but always with this view that Xbox is a platform for creators who want to reach the most players. Our investments in xCloud, our investment.
So here, because this is a business-centric podcast, we can see here.
It's in the franchise.
They say that the Xbox is centered at our creators. I think this is to reassure game developers that they're gonna still support developers, right? That's very important, especially with games that can be a success at any moment, and those creators putting their games on Xbox can still have huge ramifications for the platform.
Franchises like Minecraft and now Call of Duty and other large franchises, so that we learn how to build those. This has been a strategy that we've been on for, I'd say, a decade. It's not about one device. It's not about games in service of a device, but rather the devices that people want to play on should be in service of making the games as big and popular as they possibly could be. Because really, a healthy creator community on Xbox, a healthy creator community in gaming all up, is the thing that all of us as game players should be voting for, because that's the thing that will lead to the best long-term success and growth in this industry.
And my understanding, just from listening and learning from you three over the past few weeks, just understanding what's happening with Xbox, is that we see trends with player behavior where people are playing on multiple devices. That is the reality. And we have put some games out on multiple platforms before. So my understanding is that that's been good for players. How does that come back to the business with all of that in mind?
Yeah, as you said, we have shipped games on other platforms. In fact, realistically, if you look with the addition of Activision and Blizzard and ZeniMax, we're one of the largest game publishers on PlayStation. We're one of the largest publishers on the Nintendo Switch, especially when you put Minecraft.
That's crazy to think of it, right? The Xbox now owns like so many studios, and they are, because Call of Duty, it's so big. Like, yeah, they definitely are one of the big publishers on PlayStation and Nintendo. I think if you look at the 10 most played games on, let's take a look here, guys. 10 most played games on PlayStation. I think it's gonna be, some of those games are definitely from Microsoft, right? Because the second is Call of Duty, which is from Xbox Studios. Minecraft from Xbox Studios. There's Roblox, which is, as I said, Overwatch 2 from Xbox. Let's see. There's another. Yeah, there's three games: Minecraft, Call of Duty, and Overwatch 2. There's others, but those others are way below. Diablo 4, which is going to be on Game Pass. Helldivers is here. Okay, so that's others. Call of Duty Black Ops. Yeah, but we saw 3 games in the top 10, right? Top 10 most play games on PlayStation are from Xbox.
Into the equation as well. And now we're one of the largest publishers on mobile platforms
there
as
is
well.
not even a game from PlayStation here, right? not even a single game from PlayStation. Like, okay. I think not even. It's The Last of Us Part 2, which is the first game from PlayStation to appear here, like in the 18th position. And Xbox has 3 games in the top 10.
That's not something
crazy,
that we want to back away from. We want to continue to be building great games that millions and millions of people can love, and that they can play those games where they want to go play. But we do understand the business success that Xbox has to have. Us as leaders in this business, the system today, the system that all companies that we play video games from, is a world of you got to be growing your business. Growth in an Xbox business is critical to the long-term health of Xbox. Many people know I've been...
Yeah, because if they want to keep existing as a business, they're going to have to make money. So, yeah, there's no other way to spin that.
On Xbox for over 20 years. And I want to make sure Xbox is in the best position for the next 20 years. That means healthy player community, healthy creator community, and healthy business. So when we look at opportunities to allow more people to play, more people engage, more people to buy, more people to subscribe, it's all about putting Xbox in the best position. And our hardware is a critical component of that. The absolute best experience somebody has on Xbox is hardware that your team builds and that people play on. But
I would disagree with that. I think the best place to play Xbox games is on PC, especially with some of the 30 FPS games, right? Like Starfield, and now it has FSR3 support.
Going to be everybody. We fully accepted that we're going to have Xbox players across all kinds of devices.
So I think a lot of people think about 2023 as this incredible year for gaming, and in a lot of ways it was. There was some really amazing releases that I think we all enjoyed. But what were the signals behind the scenes that maybe indicated how we wanted to look at the future of Xbox and how we kind of keep up with the industry?
Yeah, such a good question. And I think it's, as people who care about the industry, which I assume is people who are watching this, it was an amazing year. Some great launches, some of the games that I think...
Yeah, people who are watching this definitely care too much about the gaming industry, right? As some people would say. I don't think they don't like... I think they would enjoy more if people didn't criticize Xbox that much, because this whole thing is happening because of the whole backlash that Xbox has been receiving for the last few weeks, especially with the rumors at Hi-Fi Rush, and after we got rumors that Starfield and Indiana Jones were coming to PlayStation, and there's this whole thing about Xbox being too parasocial lately, and how that affects the whole relationship with the players, right? Yeah, but people definitely care. People who are watching this definitely care more than the average person about the gaming industry. I don't think normal people don't even know what's this whole thing that has been happening for the few weeks on Twitter and other places online.
I think will stand the test of time and people will be talking about a decade from now. But it's an industry that didn't really grow. And what happens when an industry doesn't grow? You end up with some job eliminations, which we had. We had even our own hard decisions to make about building a sustainable business for ourselves, but in no way were we alone in that. When you think about a healthy industry, I want players who believe that they will find the best games on the platforms that they love. I want people who invest their careers in working here to feel like this is a place that they can be successful. And that really is down to being part of an industry that is growing. If you listen to Lisa...
So this is talking about the... Oh, so they're going to talk about Lisa Su. Okay, let's see.
Lisa Su, the AMD CEO, she'll say that AMD-powered consoles are likely to decline in 2024. I think there's an amazing set of games coming in 2020.
Wait, what? I don't think I got this. I don't think I understand. So Lisa Su said that.
Lisa Su, the AMD CEO, she'll say that
She'll say that AMD powered
consoles are likely to decline.
Are likely to decline 2024, which means that the sales of consoles are going to decrease this year. Yeah, we're gonna talk about this more into the PlayStation video, but again, yeah, I think that trend is gonna probably continue until we got new generation, because this current generation is not that appealing anymore, and people who wanted a console already bought it, right? There's no shortage of consoles anymore, so I think that makes sense.
In 2024. I think there's an amazing set of games coming in 2024, but if we don't get to growing as an...
So I think he's kind of confirming. So he's pretty much saying that Lisa Su said that, and Lisa Su, she makes, AMD in this case, makes both chips for Xbox and PlayStation. So if she's saying that, it means that she knows that the orders for chips are down, like because she knows how many chips they are ordering for making new consoles. And Phil Spencer knows that they're probably going to sell less Xbox this year than before. So I think he's talking about this because it's more a confirmation that consoles sales are going to decline this year. Probably they're going to increase if there's new consoles, right? Because new exciting thing to be on the market.
The industry will struggle. And today there's really two choices on how do you grow the industry. Do you say I have a fixed number of players, the players that we have today, and do I find new ways to monetize those players to get more money from
the PlayStation business model nowadays?
Players that I have? Or do you think about how do I expand the business I have by finding new players?
Yeah. And this is the path that Xbox has been doing for years, right? Since they started putting their games on PC. And now we're going to see more and more players. I wonder if Nintendo is going down this path, because they are not going to sell more. Granted, they're going to be selling 150 million Switches, but they are going to plateau soon or later, right? Or are they going to try to reevaluate their business model after this? I wonder what's going to happen in the future. That's going to be interesting to see.
And adding those to the base of players that already play. Our focus on Xbox for the last decade has really been on that latter point of how do we make sure Xbox is growing for our players, growing for our creators, so those people are finding success on our platform, which will grow the Xbox business and put Xbox in a position to be very strong for years and decades to come.
Matt, earlier you were talking about these growing gaming communities, how they're incredibly large and comparable on such a different level when we think about console audiences. Like you mentioned Roblox, you mentioned Fortnite. So how are we're obviously thinking about our responsibility, our hardware responsibility is supporting the growth of gaming communities. How has that actually shown up for the players? Are there other games we can speak to from our portfolio?
Well, as Phil mentioned, two of the biggest ones for us, Call of Duty and Minecraft, they are driven just from the bottom up by the communities of people that play those games, which is so great. I think about it, for the player community, it comes down to where are the friends, where are the people you play with, and then equally important is where have you built up your library of games, right? Where have you invested? Where's that library? I think those two things probably are some of the biggest influences on where people choose to play and what devices they choose to play.
Yeah. What he's saying here is because Phil Spencer talked about this in that podcast on Kind of Funny Games. So you guys are going to have to sneeze. Okay, we're back. So Phil Spencer talked about this in that Kind of Funny appearance that he had, that the Xbox One generation was the worst generation for them to lose because people bought games on PlayStation 4. And now, if they want to migrate to Xbox, they're going to lose access to all of those games because the PlayStation 5 has backwards compatibility with the PlayStation 4, which means that they can still play the games they bought on PlayStation 4. So I think that trend is going to continue to the PlayStation 6, and that's good because you don't have to buy new games. But from the point of view of the Xbox in this case, it means that they cannot get you to migrate to that platform and leave behind your library. So that's one thing they're going to have to make you think about it. And I think that Xbox Game Pass kind of alleviates that, because by becoming a subscriber to Game Pass, you have access to a huge library of games. So I think that's the reason why Game Pass is such a great move by Xbox, because they take away that hurdle that you would have initially of having to buy many games to build a library. So yeah, I think that's the biggest takeaway from Xbox Game Pass in regards to getting new players from the PlayStation 4 generation on Xbox ecosystem. Well, let's see how that will play out in the future when Xbox has more and more games on Game Pass and they build an even bigger catalog of games. That's going to be very interesting to see.
Yeah. When we think about, on the other side, the developer side, just any game developer wants their game to find the biggest audience possible.
Yeah,
that's just the nature of building a game. You want people to enjoy and participate in what you've made. And I think we're in a unique position to deliver on that, just because we are the platform. We build hardware, we've got a first-party games group, and then we've got a system that ties that together, that brings together your friends, your progression, your achievements, all of that. And I think that's really what has contributed to the momentum behind some of these communities.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look at, just step back and you look at the history of the industry, we've moved from a place where it used to be that someone built and launched a game to accelerate hardware, to actually the things we do with our hardware and with our platform are all in service of making those games bigger. And we think about that across all of the investments we make, the consoles we build, the investments we do with things like cross-play, cross-progression, the things that we're doing with cloud. How do we actually give more options to game creators so they can have the greatest success? I think one of the fun recent examples about this is actually Power World. You know, Power World was able to launch.
Power World in this, it makes absolutely sense, right? Such a huge success in recent years. Second biggest number of concurrent players on Steam, which is huge. And they are absolutely taking Power World success in this conversation, which I think is interesting, especially because Xbox now it's giving support to Pocket Pair in order to improve the game, and which is early access.
They were a game preview, they launched in Game Pass, they also simultaneously launched in Steam. And through the combination of those things, you know, Pocket Pair was able to have this outsized success, and it was the largest third-party Game Pass launch ever. And that's all because we give creators options on how they can launch their games. We've got subscription, we've got retail, we've got free to play, we've got game preview, we have the consoles, we have our experience on PC, and they can access all of those things. And when we step back and we just look at the performance of our platform all up, we know it's working. We're at the highest level of users on console.
Okay. So she said that it was working, guys. Okay. So I guys can stop console warning now. Yeah, I think that people who say that Game Pass is not working, I think there's a huge difference between not making money and not making tons of money, especially when it comes to business. Because when business, they talk about things, it's like if they make 10% return on investment, they seem like that's a loss. And I see that across some industries, especially because they want to make double, triple the money that they invest on something. So if something is far away from that, they might perceive that it's not having a huge revenue, right? Or return. But again, she's saying that because they saw the numbers. And I think that the pivot moment was when they decided to launch games on PC, which I think that there's this whole discussion. I saw a lot of people saying that this whole thing that Xbox were going to be done was because they decided to port their games on PC, and then it had the butterfly effect or snow effect that it would affect how Xbox is today. But I think it's completely the opposite, right? Because if you see how the Xbox community grew over the years, I think it's fair to say that half play Xbox games on PC. I would like to see numbers. I would like to see numbers on that. But I think more people play Xbox games than ever, especially because they are accessible to more people now. And in the future, when cloud becomes something that is more interesting and more stable, I think more people are going to be playing Xbox games, probably than all of those Xbox and PC combined today. That might be a thing, especially in countries like China and Korea and those emerging countries that don't have a huge Xbox presence. Those countries, I think PC might still grow, right? Because PC is a commodity that you need for many jobs and for many things. So having the ability to either play natively or just play in the browser, I think that's gonna be something that we're gonna see in the future. Well, let's see. She says that it makes the business successful, right?
All of those things. And when we step back and we just look at the performance of our platform all up, we know it's working. We're at the highest level of users on console, the highest level of users on PC, the highest level of users on cloud ever. We have double-digit growth rate on PC and cloud.
So double-digit growth rate on PC and cloud. So yeah, I think PC they can still grow, especially if they put the Call of Duty games on there, right? They did
this. Level of users on cloud ever. We have double-digit growth rate on PC and cloud, places where we're enabling creators to actually reach new players beyond the console ecosystem. And that's why we're leaning into it and doing more, because we see all those signals.
So we're talking about the role that hardware plays for creators, for the games and those communities. What about the role that hardware plays for us as a business, for Xbox?
When we look at our hardware, it really is, and Phil said this earlier, it's where you get like the most flagship seminal experience of Xbox. And it also represents a developer target. Our developers can build the specs of our hardware, and we invest to make sure they know when they do that the games are going to run great on our hardware, but they're also going to be able to be accessed across any screen because of all the other investments we make. So we're giving them an easy way to access as many players as possible. Right? And we actually have more creators right now building for Xbox than ever before thousands of them by nature of those investments. And we got more to come. There's some exciting stuff coming out in hardware that we're going to share this holiday. And we're also invested in the next generation roadmap. And
so she's pretty much saying that there's going to be a new console this holiday. Is this the refresh of Xbox? The refresh version? I think they should. We're going to talk. I think we're going to talk this in another video, right?
Really focused on there is delivering the largest technical leap you will have ever seen in a hardware generation, which makes it better for players and better for creators and the visions that they're building.
And then when we're talking about hardware too, there's these other considerations.
And what we're really focused on there is delivering the largest technical leap you will have ever seen in a hardware generation, which makes it better for players and better for creators and the visions that they're building.
And then when we're talking about hardware too, there's these other considerations that are really important to our community, probably to each one of ourselves as well. When you talk about library, because I want to dig in on that a little bit more. You know, as we talk about cloud in the wider entertainment industry, there's conversations about streaming. How is that impacting how I own my content that I've invested in? So what can we say about our stance around game preservation?
Yeah. You know, one of the highlights for me of being in this position was getting to stand on stage when we announced back compat coming to Xbox One. Like, it was fantastic. People were reading the teleprompter before I could read it. Slow reader, and just feeling the energy in the auditorium as we were saying that and online. You know, one of the cues I think us as being part of Microsoft take is looking at Windows and how Windows over decades has maintained software compatibility with things that are built on it. Like I can still go back and play some of the games that I love playing on Windows from decades ago, and it will still run. And we try to bring that same view to consoles. It's harder in console because the line.
That's possibly one of the main perks of PC, right? The backwards compatibility with decades of games, and there's other stuff like emulation that can make it possible to run console games on PC. But then again, I think that from now on, all consoles will have to be backwards compatible, especially because if they don't do this, they're gonna lose their base to the other console that does. That's the reason why I think PlayStation 5 did have backwards compatibility, because if they didn't do this, people would go with Xbox because they might have some games on Xbox from the Xbox One era, and then they would be more confident in the next generation. I think from now on, all consoles, I don't think Nintendo would adhere to that because they might want to try to sell you another copy of a game that you already bought. But I think that PlayStation and Xbox are definitely going to have backwards compatibility in the next version of their consoles. And I think that's a great thing, right? I just hope that it would be easier to improve frame rate and graphics, which is something that I think it's harder to do on consoles, on PC, because PC games have the settings that you can choose from. So if you update your hardware, that's already there. So you don't even need to worry about that.
Between what the hardware is and what the game is in consoles is traditionally it's tighter, which makes compatibility. You end up doing these generational compatibilities that we've built. But I will say compatibility, the ability to not only play the games, but my saves are still there with our cloud save systems to try to keep the services up as long as we can so that people can play, is a tenet of what we are as Xbox. It's at our foundation. And when we look at future hardware generations and what we're going to support, making sure that we respect, which is the word I use, respect the investments that people have made in Xbox going forward is fundamental. And the fact that you get entitlements when you buy a game from us on both Windows and Xbox also means you have the ability to play that game across a multitude of devices, which I think furthers the compatibility of the games that you own.
Can we go back to what Xbox stands for today? I think we've pretty much covered all of the elements, but if you could break it down for me.
You know, when you play on Xbox, what we're saying is you're playing on a platform where you know the biggest games in the world.
Many people thought that today would be the day that Xbox would be dead. But if you think about it, Microsoft just spent over $100 billion over the years to try to make this work. And they would not go, they would not be dead, right? They would just, in the worst scenario, rebrand themselves as Microsoft Gaming, which Phil Spencer is the CEO of Microsoft Gaming, which I think they might do sometime in the future, like in 10 years. I don't know. I don't know what the future holds for Xbox. But they are definitely going to be a huge player in this new generation of gaming.
Are always going to be. You're playing on a platform where you get to access Game Pass. And all of the games from our incredible range of studios will always launch in Game Pass.
Oh, this is good. This is a confirmation that we can hope that to see more and more games from first-party studios on Game Pass, which is huge.
And you're playing on a platform that's dedicated to you, like player-first features, cross-play, cross-save, cross-progression, backwards compatibility, being able to play your games in your library anywhere you want because of the investments that we make in cloud gaming. And so you're playing somewhere where you're investing and you know you get to take the games forward with you and across all of the screens where you are. And I think most importantly, Xbox is a place where you know when you're investing in Xbox, you're investing somewhere that is dedicated to making games more successful and creators more successful so that they can invest more to bring even better experiences to you all of the time.
Yeah, just that investment in the studios is so, and we feel that as part of first party with the platform proximity. You know, it's kind of amazing now to look out across all the studios that we've got and
There's
just
so
be
many, right?
reminded that we're now one of the biggest development organizations in the industry. What does that mean for players? It means that the biggest games are going to continue to come to Xbox. And this 2024,
How
the
many
year
likes does this have? 19,000? Okay, that's good. We cannot say the dislikes, right?
coming up,
But I
we've
think
got
we are approaching the end.
more than 10
30
major
less
releases coming
seconds,
up.
guys.
Great
Xbox
stuff.
gonna be
Hellblade
dead.
2. We've got Diablo expansion. We've got Avowed, Ara,
this is the
the
games that are
Indiana
coming.
Jones game, and there's more in development, which I think we're going to be able to share more about at
it's in
our June showcase.
Okay, so
coming
they're
up pretty soon.
teasing June.
Well, I guess
event.
I should get ready to work on that show. Well, thank you all for showing up on the podcast today, and we'll see the rest of you this June.
Okay,
Thanks,
June.
Thank
June,
you.
There's gonna be another event from Xbox. Okay, that was good. That was a good event from Xbox. I the PlayStation dudes that were hoping to see Starfield on PlayStation are not gonna see that. This whole thing is very interesting. I would like to see the likes, the dislikes on this. We can't. Let's see some of the comments. We can see finally EverTube is seen streaming these talks all over this conference because some people were probably reacting and not letting them hear. The four games are Hi-Fi Rush, Pentiment, Grounded, and Sea of Thieves according to Tom Warren. Okay. Hi-Fi Rush, I think that was that game that was over a year old that Phil was saying. Sea of Thieves was the community-driven game that he's talking about. I just want out the old cards on Game Pass. That's me, bro. That's me, bro. I would like to have access to all of those games because they cost a fortune. They do not drop in price. 2024 and 10-year-old games still costing $50, which is absurd. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Dear Phil, we need more backwards compatible games on Xbox and more FPS boost and existing Okay. I see this because if the games are backwards compatible, if in the next generation of Xbox, if it still plays at 60, that's not a huge improvement, right? You're playing like you would be playing originally, and I think that's not the ideal thing.